in the previous session?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Polite requests.
Okay, we did polite request. Did you do the role plays? Did we do the role plays? Or we have to do it yet? So role plays have been completed, right? Very nice. Let us start the new topic today then. The name of the topic is how to make a suggestion. Right? Now let us start with a very simple example that if I'm like sitting, we are all sitting in one classroom and it is very hot. So I'm saying it's so hot today. And then you notice that the fans are not on. So what sentence would you construct if you have to give me a suggestion that madam switch on the fans? Now you want to tell me that madam your fan is off, that is why you are feeling hot, right? So how would you make a sentence of it? I asked you, you don't want to answer it or you don't have an answer? How would you make a sentence of a suggestion? If I want to give you a suggestion, if you want to give me a suggestion that madam please switch on the fan, how would you make a suggestion? Nobody? Why you don't answer anything? You know that, right? If you don't answer, you're not going to learn anything. See, you may pass the subject, you may get some marks, but the subject is not going to teach you anything, right? So if you want to learn something, you have to answer when I ask you. Are you able to see the PPT? Very nice. So, okay, if you are not interested, I will just teach and we'll complete the semester, right? If you are not interested in learning anything, you even don't try, you don't respond, then that's okay. I want two volunteers to read these dialogues. Please raise your hand, two people who can read these dialogues. Kelvi, very nice, and Vruti. Okay, very good. Vruti and Kelvi, please read them aloud.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, Pinal. Would you like to do some activity with me this weekend?
Sure, what shall we do?
I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
Why don't we see a film?
That sounds good to me. Which films should we see?
That's the Action Man 4.
I'd rather not. I don't like violent films. How about going to Mad Dr. Brown? I heard that it's quite a funny film.
Just a minute. Go to the next slide. Yeah, here it is. Please complete the dialogue.
Okay, let's go see that. When is it on?
It's on at 8 o'clock at the Cosmo. Shall we have a bite to eat before the film?
Sure, that sounds great. What about going to that new Italian restaurant, Machetes?
Mishetis. It's called Mishetis.
Great idea. Let's meet there at 6.
Okay, I will see you at Machetes at 6. Bye.
Bye.
No, no, no. Okay. Sir. Thank you. Now listen. What do you think are the sentences that were suggesting a request? Just read the sentences of request once again. Okay. Okay. Please read the sentences of request once again loudly. Who will do that?
Ye-
Raise your
yes,
hand.
ma'am.
Vruti and Kelvi are the only two students who comes here to study. What about other students? It is just about reading. I understand that you can't speak on your own, but can't you even read? Seeing from the screen, only Vruti and Kelvi would read in the entire session. If you don't want to do anything, I will report to your head of the department, Sunil Bajaja sir, and also Sridharan sir, that this class does not need the lectures of English. I don't want to teach them because nobody does anything in the class. Do you want me to tell this to them? In the first semester, yes, I could understand. I want, other than Ruti and Kelvi, to read the sentences. Kelvi and Vruti Sivai, raise your hand and read the sentences. Komal, yes, please read them. Read the sentences that you think are the sentences of request. Why you are not reading? Okay, Vishwa can read.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh.
Would you like to do some activity with me this weekend?
Okay, very nice. But this is, do you think that is the sentence of request, Vishwa? Dishit, Dishit, hello Dishit, Deep Sakya, Okay. I don't think these people are going to read or do anything. Let us not, do this that way. Yes, Kelvi, yes, read them.
Why don't we see a film?
Why don't we see a film? A suggestion, Che. Can you see that? Let's see Action Man 4. It's a suggestion. Yes, Vruti, you can read. Other
How
sentences.
about going to Math Dr. Brown? It's suggestion.
How about? Yes, it's a suggestion. Yes, the Taha raised her hand. Taha, read the next sentence of suggestion. Okay. Again, Kelvi can read.
Shall we have a bite to eat before the film?
Okay, shall we have a bite to it? What is the meaning of the usage? Shall we have a bite to it? What is the meaning? Shall we have a bite to it? Meaning આપણે કંઈક ખાઈને જાશું આપણે ન કહીએ કે આપણે પહેલા કંઈક નાસ્તો કરી લઈએ કે કંઈક ખાઈને પછી જઈએ. So this is why in English that's why we call it shall we have a bite. Yes, Ruti, next sentence.
Yes. What about going to that new Italian restaurant, Michis?
Mishatis. Okay. So what about going to the new restaurant? Yes, Kelvi can read the next sentence.
Let's meet there at 6.
Let's meet there at 6. Very nice. Now, if you can observe that suggestions are good when we talk about them in inclusive manner, meaning when we say we, right? So if you go back, see, why don't we see a film? Let's, meaning two people are involved. Let's see a film. How about going to meet Dr. Brown? And then shall we have a bite to eat before the film? Or what about going to the new Italian restaurant Mishitis? Okay, and then let's meet. So these are the suggestions where other person is also involved. Okay, now let us watch this video together to understand how the suggestions can be given.
These poor postures straining your neck and back. Does sitting all day cause
Making
Can
suggestions.
anybody speak confidently, even if they're not born talented? Do you really think that the speak?
Are you able to hear the video
Yes, ma'am.
and able to see? So, okay, now I'm going to keep my mic mute, right? So sometimes whenever I'm teaching from home, I have a good connection. So I can show you the video. Sometimes in the campus, connection is so poor that the video would not free flow, right? Or at this time also, I don't know. We may continue to see, maybe may not. So just let me know if the video plays smoothly, okay? If the video doesn't play smoothly, unmute your mic and say something so that I get to know, okay? Now I'm going to mute my mic and going to play the video, because if I don't mute my mic, my voice, the video's voice would echo, okay?
Lesson. In today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to make suggestions and recommendations using different sentence structures. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. You can make a suggestion or a recommendation using what about or how about. Now, this is a form of a question. Okay, so I have a few examples here for you. Let's see how we can use what about or how about when you make a suggestion or a recommendation. In my first example, what about going to the new restaurant? Okay, so we say, okay, like, I mean, you know, your friends are planning to go for dinner. Where should we go? So your friend tells you, hey, how about going to the new restaurant? Or what about going?
One more thing, note down everything, every sentence that she is giving. Okay, so these sentences are going to be very useful when we do the role play. Okay, so note the sentences down in your book. I will ask you to read. I'll call your names and I'll ask you to read the sentences, and then I'll take the attendance.
Going to the new restaurant. Okay, now the sentence structure is you use what about, then you use a gerund. Well, I hope you remember we've learned about gerunds. So gerunds are ing form of verbs, but they're actually not verbs. They are known as noun verbs. Okay, so you say what about going to the new restaurant, okay, when you're making a suggestion, or you can even say what about the new restaurant. Okay, so you have two ways of saying it. What about going to the new restaurant, or what about the new restaurant? You don't use the gerund, you can just use the noun. Okay, same way in my next example, how about. So now let's learn how do we make a suggestion using how about. How about pasta? Okay, so your mother asked you, what should I cook for dinner today? So you said, how about pasta? You're making a suggestion to her to make pasta. You are using the noun. You can also say, how about making pasta? So you can use the gerund ing. That's how about making pasta. Okay, now these two are interchangeable. You can say, what about making pasta? What about pasta tonight? Okay, so they're interchangeable. Just remember, you can use what about or how about with the gerund or directly the noun. All right, friends, let's.
He says one word which is called gerund. Do you know what is gerund? Can you have any guess what gerund could be? What gerund is? Can you guess? What do you think is gerund? It is a verb which is ing. To smoke is a verb, but smoking is gerund. Okay? Walk is a verb. Walking is a good exercise. In that, walking is gerund. So if somebody says, how about pasta, right? So how about pasta? That way pasta is noun. But in other way, how about making pasta? So making is gerund. Also, if you don't understand anything, please ask me questions. In that case, unmute your mic and ask.
Let's take a look at a few more examples. What about warming leftovers? Okay, so or you can say, what about the leftovers? You know, why don't we eat them? So what about warming? Here I have used the gerund. Well, if you don't want to, you can just say, what about the leftovers? In my next example, how about watching the match tonight? Okay, so what should we watch tonight on television? So you say, okay, how about watching the match tonight? Making a suggestion, you can say, how about the match tonight? Okay, here I've used the gerund. But again, you to drop the gerund and just use the noun. Okay, so I hope these two structures are very clear to you. What about and how about when you make recommendations or suggestions. So now let's take a look at some more sentence structures on how to use or how to make suggestions and recommendations. Okay, my next structure is why don't. So now you say, okay, where should we go tonight? Why don't we try the new Chinese restaurant? Friends, this is very important. When you make a suggestion using why, please remember it is always in the negative. And negative present. Okay. You cannot say, why didn't we try? That means it's past and you're asking a question. You're not making a suggestion. So whenever you make a suggestion or a recommendation, starting with why, remember, always it goes in the negative. Unlike, how about and what about that we just learned earlier, it does not go in the negative, but with why, after why, you always say, why don't we try the new Chinese restaurant? Okay. My next example, why doesn't she go on a diet? Well, my friends put on a lot of weight, and she's cribbing all the time. So I say, why don't you go on a diet? Yeah, I'm making her a suggestion. So doesn't. Now, why doesn't? Because it's the third person, which we always use does or doesn't. He, she, it. I, you don't. He, she, it doesn't. We don't. They don't. So because I'm talking about a third person who's my friend, I say, why doesn't she go on a diet? Okay. Now, please remember, you can even use how about or what about. They're interchangeable, like I said. So you can say, how about trying the new Chinese restaurant, or how about the new Chinese restaurant? Okay. Or what about going on a diet? Okay. Now, the next is let's. We use this when we make a recommendation, and of course, you're part of it because this is a contraction of let us. So what do we do now? You're getting bored? Okay, let's take a walk at the beach, all right? Or let's go for a picnic. So again, this is a type or another way to make a recommendation or a suggestion. You can also say, why don't we take a walk at the beach? But remember to put it in negative. Or you can say, why don't we go for a picnic tomorrow? All right. So when you use why, please remember, put it in negative. And all these 4 sentence structures are interchangeable, but please remember to use them correctly. All right. This brings me to the end of another lesson. Please put down your comments and queries.
Now, did you please understand what she was trying to say? Now tell me, what are the sentences that we can use? Tell me the sentences one by one. Class, did you notice any sentences?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please write them here?
What about going to the new restaurant?
What about? Very nice. Going to the new restaurant. Yes, Vruti?
How about pasta?
How about? Okay. And which are 2 ways in which we can use how about? Yes, Janil, why don't we try the new restaurant tonight? Very nice. Why don't?
Let's take a walk at the beach.
Let's. Very nice. Let's and the main verb.
Let's go for a picnic.
Let's go for picnic.
Why don't we try the new Chinese restaurant?
Very nice. Why don't we try the new Chinese restaurant? What about going to the movie? Why doesn't she go on a diet? Janil, very nice. Very good observation.
What about warming leftovers?
What about warming the leftovers? Okay. Anybody else? Very nice. So these are some sentences that we can construct using what about, how about, right? Let's, why don't you, why don't he, why doesn't she, right? So whenever you use he, she, it, you always say why doesn't, and whenever you use you, why don't you go and check yourself? And then you use do, okay? Now, let us move towards the next phase. And let us watch this video, which is a fun, okay? But I want you to again note down the sentences at the end of this video too. Are you able
The
to see
secret
the
to fast
screen?
English fluency is not.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will mute my mic again when the video plays because then otherwise the voice will echo. Okay.
In fact, if you want to quickly.
Here we are again at Tip Top Trading, where Anna's interview for a sales job has been suddenly interrupted. Office assistant Denise has entered the room, looking very worried. What's wrong? And will Anna have any suggestions that might help?
I don't know what to do.
So what's the matter, Denise?
You know the PowerPoint presentation?
The one we've been preparing for the last 2 months?
Yes.
The one that's very, very important and that we need this afternoon?
That one.
Uh-huh.
We've lost everything.
No!
I had it on a USB stick to transfer it, but the stick has vanished.
Right, Anna. Now is your chance to help them find solutions to the problem. You'll need phrases like, can I make a suggestion? Why don't you? Have you tried? Maybe we could. How about? I have an idea.
But don't you have it saved on your computer?
No, it was taking up a lot of space, so I deleted it.
So, you have lost the only copy we have?
Yes.
What idiots. I've never seen such a disorganized office. Go on, you'd better help them, Anna.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please do.
Why don't you try looking in your recycle bin? It might still be there.
I did. It isn't.
Have you tried asking your colleagues if they've seen the memory stick?
I did. They haven't.
How about looking through your rubbish bin to see if you threw it away by mistake?
I don't do silly things like that.
All very sensible suggestions, Anna. Thank you.
Maybe I could do a big office search for you. I'm good at finding things.
There are confidential documents in this office. Non-staff are not allowed to see them.
Now, Denise, why don't you drink up that nice tea?
I have an idea. Did you ever email the presentation to anyone?
Golly gosh, you did, Denise. You emailed it to me to proofread. It'll be in my inbox somewhere. Good thinking, Anna.
I was just about to make that suggestion myself.
Problem solved. Thank you, Anna.
Pleasure.
Well done, Anna.
Right, now please leave us, Denise. Anna and I will continue our interview.
Okay, now the sentences will be repeated again. So be quick and attentive so that you can note them down.
Would you like a biscuit, Anna?
Thank you. Oh, what's that?
Oh, golly gosh, the USB stick. It was mixed in with the plate of biscuits that Denise brought in.
It's wet.
Yes, I think maybe I stirred my tea with it at one point. Oh well. Now, where were we? My goodness, it's 11 o'clock. I have a meeting right now. I'm afraid I'm going to have to go. But I've made my mind up about you anyway. I suppose you'd like to know if you've got the job?
Yes, please.
Stop right there. I'm sure everybody would like to know if Anna's got the job, but everybody's going to have to wait until we've heard her helpful phrases once again.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't you try looking in your recycle bin? Have you tried asking your colleagues if they've seen the memory stick? How about maybe I could do a big office search for you? How about looking through your rubbish bin? I have an idea.
Anna, we need someone who can think on her feet and who is a first-rate people person. Someone who sees solutions, not problems. Someone like you. So if you want the job, it's yours.
Now think carefully, Anna. Do you really want to work for these people? They seem a bit disorganized.
I would definitely like the job. Thank you.
So be it. Join us again next week.
Okay, so that's all. Please tell me what sentences did you learn from this? Just type them here or you may unmute your mic and speak. Can I make a suggestion? Very nice, Jenny. Very nice. How about, what about? Now you may omit all those suggestions that are already made. Only new sentences you may mention here. How about looking through your rubbish bin? Okay, looking through. Very nice word. You know, when somebody says something is missed, then you can say how about looking through or going through. Why don't you try? Very nice.
Why don't you try looking in your recycle bin?
Why don't you try looking into your recycle bin? Very nice. So just have a look at this PPT now. What about going out? So Jirud. What about meaning now? What about cricket? What about movie? Okay, that's right. How about Jirud? How about going out? And what about noun? Like what about eating food right away? So how about and what about? They can be used in both the ways. Why don't always, why don't you go out? Why don't you ask yourself letters? Maybe you can ask your friends about it. Do you want to? It might be good idea. Okay, so this way. And shall we could go out, we all could do this. So these are some of the sentences that we can use. Now, see, how can you be polite? So start now. It's the rudest, very rude. And let's start now, or shall we start now? It is little more polite. Why don't we start now? It is again more. The sentences are becoming gradually polite. What about starting now? If I were you, I would start now. We could start now. You might want to start now. It might be a good idea to start now. I was wondering if you would want to start now. So, see, gradually sentences are becoming more polite. So, depending on how much politeness is required, you can form the sentences like this in order to make suggestion. Now, what is the difference between how about and what about? Both are used interchangeably, but with slight change in the meaning. For example, how about is used for asking suggestion when one is quite confident. Okay, when I'm so sure, I can use how about. What about is used when one is not quite sure and expects other person's opinion. Okay, so we can use how about when we are so confident and sure, but we can use what about when we are not so sure. One is, how about going for a cup of tea? And next is, I would love to, but what about the lecture? So I'm very sure that we can go for a cup of tea. But the other person said, what about the lecture? So he is concerned about it and he wants other person's opinion about it. So how about going to a movie? I would love to, but what about the kids? You know, there is what about is mostly used to give different opinion, suggestions, or object to something. You know, so you see how beautifully what about can be used. What about can be used to suggest the opinion, right? So when somebody offers you something, when somebody suggests you, and if you want to suggest quite differently opposite to it, you can use what about. This is a very beautiful usage of what about. These are the sentences of agreeing disagreeing that we will do in the next session, right? I think we did too much in this session today. Okay, so that's all for the day. I would like to take attendance. Please unmute your mic and say yes and no when I speak your name. Okay, 003, Komal,
Yes, ma'am.
4,
Yes, ma'am.
Dharvi,
Present, ma'am.
wait, sorry, I made the mistake. Vruti,
Present, ma'am.
Kelvi,
I'm roll number 5, radio.
हाँ Kelvi present बेटा. Number 7,
Present, ma'am.
8, Paras, Mahesh, Shrey Kumar,
Present, ma'am.
Anjali Ba, nahi, wait. Now we have Aarti,
Madam 23.
Aarti Vyas.
23, madam.
એક જ મિનિટ આરતી વ્યાસ પ્રેઝન્ટ એબસેન્ટ અને 23 કેવલ
Present.
બીકોઝ કેવલ તમે છે ને ચોઇસ ફિલિંગ નથી કર્યું ઓલામાં એટલે તમારું નામ નહોતું અનિકેત નથી જેનિલ
ઈ પ્રેઝન્ટ જ
કોણ પ્રેઝન્ટ જેનિલ પ્રેઝન્ટ છે ને આ નંબર 31 કોણ છે નેક્સ્ટ ઇઝ
મેમ પોર્ટલ માંથી કરવાનું છે ને સિલેક્ટ સબ્જેક્ટ.
પોર્ટલ માંથી કરવાનું હતું ગૂગલ ફોર્મે ભરવાનું હતું કાંઈ વાંધો નહીં હવે પોર્ટલમાં કર્યું હોય તો ભલે કર્યું હવે હને
પોર્ટલ
હર્ષ
માં નથી કર્યું ગૂગલ ફોર્મ માં.
યસ મેમ.
હા તો પોર્ટલમાં કરી લે બેટા
હા મેમ.
દીક્ષિત
Yes, ma'am.
દીપ
યસ મેમ.
ભાવિન ભાવિન
યસ મેમ
ઓકે તાહા
Yes, ma'am.
વિધિ કેવિન કેવિન મોલિયા મોહમ્મદ
Present, ma'am.
ઓકે હવે એવું કોઈ છે કે જેનો નંબર નથી આવ્યો એટેન્ડન્સમાં is there anybody whose number has not come in the attendance very nice then these students please elect your subject online okay and if you don't have any other question or 32 Janil okay if you don't have any other question you may leave the session thank you for joining the session have a good day and take care and have a safe week ahead બેટા સબ્જેક્ટ છે ને પોર્ટલમાં છે ને ડ્રોપ ડાઉન હોય ને એમાં સબ્જેક્ટ સિલેક્શનમાં જવાનું છે તો પણ આઈ એમ નોટ શ્યોર બીકોઝ મારું અને તમારું લોગિન છે ને અલગ હોય સ્ટુડન્ટ્સનું અલગ હોય ફેકલ્ટીનું પણ અલગ હોય સો બેટર યુ આસ્ક સમ સ્ટુડન્ટ હુ હેઝ સક્સેસફુલી ડન ધેટ okay